The roots of German militarism evolved over centuries and culminated during the Third Reich. It grew to dominate most aspects of German society and eventually resulted in the nation's complete annihilation. Relying heavily on primary historical sources, we'll focus on evidence of the influence of this tendency. In Part 3 of this series, we'll follow the transformation of the Reich's regionally independent police force into a centralized paramilitary formation. We'll look at relevant journals produced for members of the newly centralized security services and take a look at rare associated archival footage, with some of it even in color. Plenty more episodes are planned for this groundbreaking series, which will integrate many original sources, including journals, newspapers, books, and even unreleased diaries. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel. It's worth it, I promise. This is a 1938 collection of the journal Die Deutsche Polizei, or the German Police. On the front you can see the Wolfsangel ruin, which was inspired by the medieval European wolf traps, which were of similar shape. The protective yet aggressive association was intentional. Regional autonomy of the Ordnungspolizei, or Orpo, which was responsible for internal security services within the Reich, was lost to the national government in June of 1936, with Hitler ordering its centralization. Herausgegeben im Auftrag, published on behalf of the Reichsführer-SS and Chief of the German Police of the Ministry of the Interior. Although officially still under the control of the Interior Ministry, with Reichsführer-SS Heinrich Himmler named Chief of the Police in the Reich's Ministry of the Interior, the various internal security services were in effect subordinated to the SS. Rather than bringing Himmler to the police were brought to him. An alle SS-Männer, an alle Angehörigen der deutschen Polizei. A busy year lies behind us. A year with just as much work and responsibilities begins today. I hope that the year 1938 will bring us further in the consolidation of our organization, in the close integration of the SS and the police, and in the never-ending fulfillment of National Socialist duty for the Führer and Germany. With this in mind, I wish all SS men and all members of the German police a good 1938. During this process of consolidation and integration, most leaders in the Orpo in positions of importance either joined the SS ranks or they were quickly replaced by SS men loyal to Himmler. From this point on, only by joining the SS would an individual have any chance of professional advancement. In 1936, the responsibilities of the Orpo encompassed virtually all of Germany's law enforcement and emergency response organizations. This ranged from everyday duties, such as traffic and crowd control, fire brigades, and Coast Guard, to civil defense, including exotic responsibilities such as mounting an organized response to a gas attack. Authorities organized campaigns to educate the population, including how to recognize the signs of such an attack, the use of gas masks, and first aid and evacuation procedures. This rare 1937 footage shows emergency services with specialized equipment training detection and decontamination procedures. As before, the Orpo wore green uniforms, and they were also referred to as die grüne Polizei, the Green Police. By the Reich's Party rally in November of 1936, the integration of the Orpo into the newly centralized security apparatus was well underway. Here we see them marching at the rally in formation just in front of the SS. On March 13th of 1938, the scale of this integration project increased significantly with the annexation of Austria. Suddenly, 30,000 law enforcement personnel were added to Himmler's Greater German security apparatus. As with the Austrian army, most chose to remain in service under the new regime, with only a small number resigning or expressing opposition to the annexation. The Munich Agreement and the following creation of the Protectorate of Bohemia and Moravia, which took place in March of 1939, was also a kind of windfall for the Reich's security services. Not because of another sudden influx of personnel, but rather for the practical experience gained organizing the domination of an occupied country. Of Czechoslovakia's population of 14.5 million, only about 3 million were Sudetendeutsch, and so considered reliably loyal to the regime. The Protectorate remained nominally autonomous and had a dual system of government, with German law applying to ethnic Germans, while other residents had the legal status of Protectorate subjects and were governed by a puppet Czech administration. Using a mixture of carrot and stick policies, the occupational authorities encouraged the skilled Czech workforce, with its developed industry, to make a major contribution to the German war economy. As war grew near, it was increasingly important for leaders to have a role in the military, which brought increased authority within the government. This footage shows Hermann Göring in May of 1939, greeting the returning members of what he considered his Legion Condor, who had been fighting on Franco's side during the Spanish Civil War. It was clear to all that Göring's star was rising. One of the losers in this power struggle was Rudolf Hess, the deputy Führer to Adolf Hitler, who was gradually sidelined. On May 10th of 1941, with Operation Barbarossa and the attack on the Soviet Union looming, Hess desperately flew to Britain, trying to single-handedly negotiate a peace and come back a hero. He was thrown in prison and ridiculed. Hitler would claim that he'd lost his mind, but in truth, it was far worse. He'd lost relevance. Losing a power struggle was not only bad for a National Socialist leader's career, it could actually cost him his life, as it had for Ernst Röhm in July of 1934. Urged on by Göring and Himmler, Hitler ordered a series of political extrajudicial executions in order to consolidate his power and alleviate the concerns of the German military about the role of Ernst Röhm and the Sturmabteilung, or SA. Himmler, on the other hand, had better understood the power game and pushed the Orpo towards becoming a paramilitary organization by expanding their duties. Here we are looking at periodical number 17 from September 1st of 1939, so it came out just as the war in Poland was beginning. Notice the appropriate green-colored binding in these collections of these journals. If, by chance, you are interested in buying the 1938 collection, email me at info@military1945.com. This article is a good example showing the process of militarizing the police force. Ausbildung und Einsatz einer Schutzpolizei-Hundertschaft in Straßenkampf. Besides training with your service weapon out in the field, it's important for police officers to be trained in urban combat. Deployment of the police engaging in combat will usually take place in urban districts, on streets, or in buildings that are occupied by the enemy. The best examples we have come from the battles between the police and the communists that took place in the Ruhr area, central Germany, and in Hamburg. In these situations, the engagements usually took place in large buildings, factories, and police stations that the enemy had taken control of, which the police then needed to attack. In this way, the combat situations that the police found themselves in were more likely to be in urban settings. Because of this, we can assume that in the future, the police will primarily be engaging in urban combat. Therefore, it's necessary to continually prepare the police officers and train their leaders tactically for urban combat. Bridging the early experiences of pitched battles between law enforcement and communists, and the need for the police to be trained in urban combat for all future eventualities can be understood. However, since coming to power in 1933, the National Socialist government had all but removed the communist influence, and the chance of it coming back must have seemed slight. For the police officer, this training must have been seen as more exotic than practical. Against whom within Germany could such urban battles take place? There was simply an understandable lack of imagination as to what they'd be expected to do in the future. Please take the time to like the video. It really helps out our community. Patreon supporters preview all videos uploaded to YouTube and get regular access to footage that can't be shown here. Thanks for watching.